everybody. This is Rick Prokop, and welcome to Piano Power Lessons. Today, this is a short introduction because we are in the music theory section and are about to begin Unit 1, which is called Major Scale Construction. So I'd just like to give you a little preview of what is to come. And what you're looking at here is the first completed lesson that we do together online. And it's very important that you do not use your phones for this, that you use a bigger screen, say an iPad or a computer monitor, and pretend that you're in a classroom because this is pretty comprehensive stuff. So in the first lesson, I discussed what a whole step and a half step is, and how that pertains to the construction of a major scale, and then we write it out together. And as I'm writing the notes, you should have your manuscript book there, and you should be writing right along with me. We also discuss the G clef or the treble clef, and the F clef or the bass clef. And you notice after writing the scale out in the treble clef, we then write it out in the bass clef. And then together we say the notes together. For instance, C, D, E, F, C, and faster, C, D, E, F, C, D, F. And we try to develop this ability to go right through the scale as if it's a word, rather than reading the individual letters of a word. We also practice saying the scale backwards or descending from a high note to a low note. And when you do that, you notice that the alphabet also descends or goes backwards. So you have CBA, then you have GFEDC, and we work on developing speed with that so that we can say CBA GFEDC, for example, and you can just rattle that off. And then we do the same thing. We rewrite the notes out in bass clef, and we go through the same routine of saying the notes. You're looking at the page from Lesson 4, and notice over here that we have a new concept called a key signature. So as sharps accumulate throughout these scales, we will be discussing how to construct a key signature and what the key signature does for the player. We'll also be discussing the circle of fifths, which is a diagram of all the work we do in this first section. Construction of each scale and the accumulation of sharps, etc. And this is very interesting. So I'd like to go back to the C scale now and just show you the power that you have once you know what the notes of the scale are. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So if I ask you, what's the third note of C? You go 1, 2, 3, C, D, E. What's the fifth note of C? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, C, D, E, F, G. What's the seventh note of C? Well, you can go 8, 7, or you can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, but in both cases, it's a B. Okay, well, that's very nice. What else can we do with this? Well, by definition, if you've heard of a C triad, which is a 3-note chord, we can define it using the C scale. We can say a major triad is the first, the third, and the fifth note of any major scale. So what's the C triad? You say C, E, G. So if you've learned other scales like D major, I say, what's a D triad? Well, it's the first, third, and the fifth note, D, F sharp, A. I don't have to study that. I don't have to study the relationship between D and F sharp, how many whole steps, half steps it is. By definition, if you know your major scale, the first, the third, and the fifth notes forms what's called a major triad. Now, a triad C, E, G is a three-part chord. When you use the word chord, it usually means four notes. I mean, as a jazz player, that's how we think of a chord. So what can we derive from our knowledge of the major scale? Well, if I take the first, third, fifth, and seventh notes, C, E, G, B, it's like a word, C, E, G, B. That's called a major seventh chord. And once I know what a major seventh chord is, I can tell you what a minor seventh chord is, what a seventh chord is, what a diminished seventh chord is, what an augmented seventh chord is, etc., etc. Now, if you look at a piece of music, you'll see that if we go from note to note, there's a small space here, bigger space here. Here the notes are going up stepwise. Here's a big leap here. And what scales allow me to do is to identify these leaps or spaces between notes, which are called intervals. And an interval, this will be a whole separate unit, and all this helps you to read better. An interval is defined as the space between and including two notes. So for example, this is an interval of a fifth. If I go A, G, F, E, D, I've recited 5 letter names, therefore it's called a fifth. Let's go back to our C scale. Well, now you know C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I say, what's a seventh above C? You go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, C to B. So the C to B is called an interval of a seventh. But here's something even better. If you know the major scale, and you know all 15 of them, then the first to the second is called a major second. The first to the third is called a major third. The first to the sixth is called a major sixth. The first to the seventh is called a major seventh. And if you know what a major third is, for example, first to the third note of a major scale, C to E is a major third. Well, then I can easily figure out what a minor third is, what a diminished third is, and what an augmented third is. Same thing with any of these major intervals. If I know what a C to A is a major sixth, I can right off the bat tell you an augmented is C to A sharp, minor is C to A flat, because we know the major is C to A. And that leaves us with the first to the fourth, which is called a perfect fourth. First to the fifth is called a perfect fifth, and the first to the eighth is called an octave. So all of that information is available to you, and you haven't even studied. All you've done is you've learned the major scale, and you could say C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. And you know that so well that you can just pick out these notes. So if I ask you what's a sixth or what's a fourth, you can immediately say it. When I mentioned that there were 15 scales, well, here they are. I hope I didn't terrify you and that you're cringing now. Actually, there are just 7 strings of letter names that you need to learn. So, for instance, for the A scales, you just need to know A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A. And depending on which one you're doing, A or A flat, then you just add flats or sharps wherever needed. This one will require sharps, this one will require flats. Same with B, the string of notes you'll need to know, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B. For this one, you're going to add sharps. For this one, you're going to add flats, but they're the same notes. So going up and down, each time when we go from B and then you learn B flat, you don't have to learn a whole new set. C is pretty cool because you have a C, you have a C flat scale, and you have a C sharp major scale. But it's all going to be C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. and then backwards the same thing for each of those three. So I hope that alleviates some stress, and you will continue on and have fun. All right, so sharpen your pencils, get your manuscript books out, and start with lesson 1. And before you know it, you'll be through all 15 of these major scales.